Peace and blessings, everyone. It's me, Coach Ed, coming to you here on the Hardcore Sports Network, bringing you coverage post game of college football week or weekend. This show is called the Playbook Post Game Gridiron Review, where I cover the games that are played, some of the games that are played, a lot of the major games, and I'll be going over them. We'll also be having special guests from time to time coming in and talking about some of the games that were played, their favorite programs, things of that nature. But we're going to go ahead and dive right into the show. But before we do, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network if you're already not done, if you already haven't done so, hit the notification so this way you know when new content is posted, and share on all your social media platforms. It's free, so it doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us all out. Tap into all the content creators in the Hardcore Sports Network. But also keep in mind that we'll bring you a lot of other content, not just college football. So we cover everything. So you name it, it's probably there in the Hardcore. But without further ado, I'm going to get right into the games that were played this weekend. Talk about a couple of them. First one I'm going to talk about is Hawaii, who hosted Stanford. Hawaii came away victorious, 23-20, right at the last minute. It was a back and forth type of a game in a sense. Stanford was supposed to be favored because they're from the ACC, but coming away with a loss like this doesn't bode well for them, especially against a team that's middle of the pack in the Mountain West. So it's not going to look good. Hawaii, for the most part, led by their quarterback, Alejandro Alejado, 27-39, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns. So running a variation of the old run and shoot. Head coach Timmy Chang brought that there to Hawaii, and it looks like it's starting to bode well. So, can they continue to produce, and will they play themselves well enough into a bowl contention? It's going to be a tough season, especially in the Mountain West for them, and Stanford for that matter. Concerns are they might only win 2 or 3 games. So we're going to see what happens during the course of the season. So check out these two teams as we go forward. So now I did cover the next game that I want to talk about. It was played in Dublin, Ireland, early on Saturday, kickoff at 12 Eastern time. So, but it was 2 Big 12 teams, Iowa State and Kansas State, playing out there in Ireland. Now, Iowa State came away victorious. Kansas State, for the most part, offensively, they did well offensively. Their starting quarterback, Johnson, was 21-30 for 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 110 yards, led by Jackson, 12 carries for 51 yards. So it was a productive day for them offensively. For Iowa State, during the course of the game, it started out 7-0. Kansas State came back, tied the game. And it was a back and forth type of a game. Kansas State was, like I said, more productive. They were, moving the ball. Iowa State in the first half, a lot of passing attempts. But during the course of the game, I kept saying they needed to run the football. And in the second half, that's what they did. They gained 130 yards total. Roughly, I think they had 21 in the first half. But as you see, they picked it up, gaining over 100 yards in the second half, led by Hanson, their starting running back, over 71 yards on the ground. And he controlled the narrative, and that's what Iowa State needed to do. Now, there are things that both teams need to do to clean up, because playing in the Big 12, this is a conference from top to bottom. It will not surprise me if anyone, for the most part, came away competing for the Big 12 championship. So you definitely need to step it up, both teams, and clean up some things, especially going into their next game. Kansas State, continue what you're doing, clean up some things, especially defensively. Clean up the missed tackles on both teams. There was, some missed tackles that needed to be done, cleaned up. But, in the end, it would not surprise me if these two teams are playing for the Big 12 championship. So and Kansas State is going to want redemption if that does happen. So we'll see what happens in the Big 12. So again, you got a lot of tough teams there: Utah, BYU, Baylor. Again, you have some tough teams in the Big 12 who can come away with the championship. We'll see what happens going from there. Now, one of the other games that I did cover, it was an FCS game. It was an FCS in a sense. It was the HBCU Classic, the MEAC versus the SWAC. There you had North Carolina Central take on Southern, and basically North Carolina Central came away victorious. They took control of the game, even though Southern scored their points on explosive plays, a 69-yard touchdown run and an 80-yard touchdown run. But that was in the first half. In the second half, North Carolina State just basically continued to work their run. Shout out to my man, NYG22. He kept calling it during the broadcast that their running back for North Carolina Central was just that good. Don't even be surprised if, you know what, if he's able to move up to an FBS level next year, or if he moves on to the NFL, having a chance in getting a tryout. So the kid was definitely good, very good runner, good vision, tough breaking tackles. So there you have it. North Carolina Central took control. They're definitely the favorite for me in the MEAC. And in the SWAC, Southern's definitely has a lot of work to do to definitely step it up. But we'll see what happens during the course of the season. The next game I want to talk about was a shootout, in a sense. You had Western Kentucky hosting Sam Houston State. And Western Kentucky came away victorious, 41-24. In that game, Western Kentucky had well over 500 yards of total offense, 401 yards in passing. McIver was 33 of 51, 401 yards and 3 touchdowns. While on the ground, they rushed for 105 yards. It was a balanced rushing attack. Harris led the way with 52 yards on the ground, but they had many backs who contributed in the ground game. For Sam Houston State, under the new head coach Phil Longo, they were fairly productive, but they needed to do better in a sense. They passed for 209 yards, but they rushed for 173 yards. Now, there's things that Longo is going to do to clean that up, and I do expect them to continue to work to get better, but it's going to take time with their program. Western Kentucky, favorite in their conference. It wouldn't surprise me if they came away victorious and won their conference as a whole, but it's still going to be a tough battle there. So the other game we want to talk about is a concern for me. So you have a Mountain West team in UNLV hosting an FCS team out of the Big Sky, Idaho State. Idaho State last year was 5-7. So while they weren't a they weren't a great team, they were a fairly competitive team for the most part in their conference. But UNLV, this should have been a game that I don't want to say it was a cakewalk, but it should have been a better outcome for them overall. The biggest issue for them was defensively. They ended up winning 38-31, but they allowed Idaho State to do whatever they wanted offensively. Idaho State, 395 yards passing and 160 yards on the ground. That's over 500 yards. That's almost 600 yards in total offense. Can't have that UNLV, and Coach Mullen's going to definitely have to clean that up, because in the Mountain West, when you have Boise, San Diego State, Air Force, Colorado State, these programs that are hungry to win the Mountain West and possibly position themselves, depending, in the college playoffs, UNLV is definitely needs to clean it up. Now, they do have talent there, but defense is going to be the biggest thing that they really need to clean up. Offensively, they were productive. 223 yards passing and 300 yards. Double check that. Yeah, 300 yards rushing. So over 500 yards of total offense. So they can produce on the ground. So and they can produce offensively. So the issue is going to be defense. So we'll see what happens going forward during the season. And finally, total beatdown. Kansas State beat up on Fresno State 31-7. Daniels, starting quarterback, uh, dynamic dual threat player, definitely had his way against Fresno State. 176 yards. He was 18 of 20 though. So 18 of 20, 176 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also threw in, it contributed 47 yards on the ground. Now Henshaw, their starting running back, was 13 for 69. So again, they rushed for 207 and 176, so almost 400 yards of total offense. While Fresno, AJ Warner, 18 to 29, 179 yards, 2 interceptions, and rushing. They pretty much had the pass to try and stay in the game. Only got 37 yards of total off rushing yards rushing. So there you have it. Going to be bringing you more as the season come along. We have games this Thursday. So you have games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So stay tuned on the Hardcore Sports Network. Also on my channel, 4 games. I'll be covering games all 5 days. So we'll be here, like I said, on the Hardcore, on the Aboriginal Sports Network, and on my channel. So stay tuned in. Make sure you guys, hit the like button, comment if you have any thoughts, questions on any games or any games you want highlighted. So I really appreciate everyone for tapping in. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you guys soon.